Could you please join the Twin Rivers Choir in singing "O Canada"? I'd like to welcome everyone to our Remembrance Day service. Every year on November 11th, Canadians gather in cities and towns all across Canada to observe Remembrance Day and to remember all those who served our country and those who were lost in action. On November 11th, Canadians gather to remember those who gave their lives during World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. Since those wars, many Canadian men and women have been put in harm's way in the peacekeeping forces in Egypt and in the Middle East in the 1960s. They were in harm's way in Bosnia, Croatia, and Yugoslavia. Over 250 Canadians were lost in Afghanistan. They were in harm's way in Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, and in countries in Africa. On the home front, our men and women in the RCMP are often put in harm's way in carrying out their duties. Sadly, one of their members was lost in last week. Some lives lost carrying out their duties. Remembrance Day is about honoring and thinking about all veterans and people who have served our country, our great country, so that we can live in freedom and happiness. But most importantly, it is a day in which we will remember all veterans, past and present. We thank them all, and we will remember them. I received a letter from our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. I'd like to read that out. It says, "Dear friends, I am pleased to extend my warmest greetings to everyone marking Remembrance Day. On this solemn occasion, Canadians pay tribute to the brave men and women in uniform who answered the call to serve and fought to uphold the values that define our nation. These brave heroes defended the fundamental principles of freedom, democracy, and justice during the two world wars, the Korean War, and other military and police efforts, and they continue to do so around the world. This year, as we mark the 150th anniversary of Canada's Confederation, we are reminded of those who have bestowed upon us the liberty and peaceful prosperity that we hold dear. Today, on the 11th day of the 11th month, let us honor Canada's veterans and serving members and pay tribute to those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Please accept my best wishes for a memorable and meaningful ceremony. Yours sincerely, the Right Honorable Justin P.J. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada." Our MP, Richard Cannings, he has a large riding, and so he can't attend every service. He was at our service, I believe, last year. I'm not sure where he is today. So he has sent a message. Once again, as we do each November 11th at 11 o'clock, we stand together to honor and remember those courageous Canadians from all cultural backgrounds who risk their health, their safety, and their lives in the service of our country. We acknowledge that despite our enduring gratitude, the collective debt we owe to those brave men and women is one we can never repay. As a citizen and as a member of Parliament, I am thankful to all veterans and their families for the profound sacrifices each have made to protect and preserve precious rights and freedoms in our world and country. And as we pledge to never forget those who have been lost to us through a long, horrible history of war, let us resolve to work extra hard to build a future peace. Sincerely, Richard Canning, MP, South Okanagan, West Kootenay. And our MLA, Katrina Conroy, she was here last year. So I would like to call Angelica Bruner to say a few words on Katrina's behalf.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to read this letter on behalf of Katrina Conroy, MLA for Kootenay West. On November 11th each year, we remember the men and women who have served and continue to serve our country in times of war, conflict, and peace. We honor the more than 1.5 million Canadians who have served our country and the more than 100,000 who have died. They gave their lives so that we can all live in peace. We must also remember that it is our responsibility to continue the work towards the peace that so many died trying to protect. These brave men and women carried the burden for us, and now we owe it to ourselves and to them to never take that for granted. I join everyone in our community today in honoring the memory of these valiant souls and in expressing my gratitude for their service. Sincerest wishes, the Honorable Katrina Conroy, MLA of Kootenay West. Thank you.
I would like to call His Worship the Mayor, Lawrence Chernoff, to say a few words on behalf of the City of Castlegar.
Good morning. In schools across Canada for a number of years, students have discussed remembrance, recognizing the sacrifice which others made for Canada, but unsure how they themselves could respond. What could they do? How could they live up to the expectations of men and women who gave their lives for Canada and future generations? Today there is an answer. It was always there, only not it can be seen much more clearly. It has to do with unity. Canadian unity is not as strong today as it once was, when men from all parts of Canada came to a place called Vimy Ridge in 1917. For everybody said it was impossible to take the ridge from the enemy. In a very important battle on a very cold day, the Canadians did what nobody thought was possible. They took Vimy Ridge. When the guns stopped, Canadians were very happy, not so much for the victory itself, but for the difficult thing they had done together. They were proud to be Canadians, and some of them were wounded and waiting to be shipped to hospital, lay on stretchers in tunnels in the earth. They carved maple leaves on the wall. It was a good time to be a Canadian. In another war, when the guns stopped at the place called Dieppe, the Canadians suffered a terrible defeat. This time, Canadians from east and west shared a defeat. And as the wounded, ragged soldiers were marched away to prison camps, they marched proudly, knowing that they had shared something difficult. It was a sad time to be a Canadian. Thousands of young men from all parts of Canada faced death together at Dieppe. You can see their graves and read their names on the stones. The stones speak eloquently of their racial and religious origins. They speak of men for a common cause, Canada. In Canadian classrooms today, there are students whose parents or even themselves remember other wars. Some remember the terrible ordeal of escaping to freedom. To them, the poppy can be a symbol of that freedom. But it is important for all of us to remember the unity of Canadians in wartime enables all of us to enjoy freedom. Although Canada now repatriated her Constitution, the spirit of common cause is lacking. We no longer share difficult times with a sense of unity. The poppy then is a reminder of the need, a challenge to each of us to seek out the spirit of unity which sustained our forefathers and our country. Like the Constitution in 1982, Canada brought home its tomb of the unknown soldier in 2000 and laid him to rest in a special memorial in Ottawa. And I'd just like to read you a little poem here. Here I lie in the field of poppies, and here I'll die for the land I love. So I say a prayer and sing the anthem, and don't forget me when November comes. It don't matter where you come from. It don't matter what God you trust. It's my life, and I choose to gift it. So don't forget me when November comes. I won't ask the why or the wherefore. I won't say, what have you done? For I'm dying for what I believe in. Just don't forget me when November comes. I say goodbye to the big city. I say goodbye to the ones I love. Take their hand and whisper softly, I'll be there when November comes. Let us never forget.
Hooray! Attention!
This time, I'd like to call Comrade Sam Brown, our past president, to read the honor roll. He will be accompanied Bob Bertuzzi, our drummer.
The honor roll. Private Lance Appleton. Corporal Alfred Killow. Private Charles Hazen. Private Robert Georges. Private Henry Slater. Private Walter Slater. Private Carlton Nash. Private George Cars. Lance Corporal John McDavid. Private Jack Fraser. Captain Dalton MacArthur. Private Douglas MacDonald. Private Earl Mulhern. Private George Owls. Flight Lieutenant Barry Cleaton. Warrant Officer R.M. Buey. Flight Sergeant E. Foxley. Pilot Officer Roy Foxley. Pilot Officer Sidney Horswell. Flight Sergeant Walter Houston. Flight Sergeant Clayton Kennedy. Flying Officer Virgil Riley. Pilot Officer Sam Sampernoff. And those who have passed since we last gathered together.
Since Confederation 150 years ago, we have lost over 118,000 fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, sisters, and brothers who were lost preserving and fighting for our freedoms. Their final resting places are located in some 75 countries around the world. After the last post is played, we will have our silence. And during that silence, please think reverently of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and we will remember them. David Leffelar will play the last post. They shall not grow old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. After the artillery bombardments of the First World War had destroyed most of the vegetation, a determined little wildflower, the poppy, began to flourish. Its color reminded soldiers of the blood lost on that very ground and inspired Canadian John McCrae to write his famous poem, In Flanders Fields. That poem, in turn, became the inspiration for the Royal Canadian Legion. At this time, I would like to call Miss Castlegar and Miss Castlegar Princess to come and read In Flanders Fields. I would like to present Miss Castlegar, Leanne Zaitzoff, and Castlegar Princess Emily Hultgren.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, fell dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders fields.
Take up your quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, ladies. We will now have a musical selection performed by the Twin Rivers Choir. The piece is called Indonana. It is a traditional song of mourning, peace, and hope.
Oh,
This brings a close to our service. And I would like to thank everyone who supported this year's Poppy campaign. You have made a difference. You will be helping veterans. So could you join the choir in singing God Save the Queen?
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen.
Color party, stand fast. Parade! Move to the right, in column of route. Right! Turn! By the left.